Well, hi again everybody. Welcome to my latest video. Well, this is going to be part one of my latest PC build. This is a replacement PC for my current primary editing and gaming rig, mostly used for editing these days. It all started out when I got a really good deal on this i9 Core 9900K. I've always wanted one of these. This thing has 8 cores, 12 threads. Doesn't compete in terms of thread count with an AMD, but it has a really good clock rate, and it's a highly rated CPU. My current 8700K that's in this PC has done very well, but it's obviously, coming on 3 years old now at this point. Doesn't sound like a lot when you're trying to keep up with technology. When I first got this, I was going to just put it on the existing ASUS Z370 motherboard that I have in there. But as it turns out, there are some features that motherboard does not have that I'd like to have in my PC going forward. So what I decided to do, there was also a sale running on this, an MSI Z390 Gaming Edge motherboard. And this one also has a wireless capability built into it as well. So I have that as a backup in case I have to bring my network down again, right? That's handy to have. And I'll be able to pick up the extra things that I'd like to have that this particular motherboard comes with. And I'll go over those probably in the next video as I start assembling all of the main components into this PC. In terms of the actual network, now currently I have a used 10 gig card in there that some of you recall when I first set up my 10 gig network. Well, I've decided I'm going to go to one that's a little more flexible. So I bought this Rosewill 10 gig network adapter. This one actually has the ability to go 10, 5, 2.5, or 1 gig. The existing used 10 gig that I have in this one only goes 10 gig. I can't revert down to 1. If I had to take offline my 10 gig network adapter, then I would have a problem. I'd have to switch this guy over to another network adapter in order for it to work properly. So that'll take care of that. And it's a newer board, so I don't really know how much longer the one that I put in here can last. All components have a certain life to them, and that board might be a little bit on the older side. Now the graphics card that I'm going to put into this new PC is going to be one that I bought a while ago, a couple of months ago actually, at Micro Center as well, when I did one of my early morning trips. And that is the NVIDIA 3070. Now this one is the ASUS KO model, so it can actually do some decent overclocking, because I may actually want to overclock at this time to get a little more oomph out of my rendering. Now, what I have in this other PC right now doesn't even compare to this. It's a 1070, which today, with the mining going on, that actually has pretty good worth to it. So I'm not going to get rid of that. That'll probably go into another computer, maybe my daughter's computer, and I'll be able to take the 1660 out of there, which performs a little bit less than the 1070, believe it or not. So that takes care of the key components of the system in terms of the inside components. Now the supporting components, I've had this power supply for a while. You may have seen it if you looked at some of my older videos about power supplies. An EVGA 850 watt power supply, fully modular, and it has some decent features to it. I got this on a really good sale more than a year ago at this point. My power supplies were, a bit cheaper back then. Now to keep this CPU cool, I've decided to go ahead and put in an all-in-one water cooler. Cooler Master 240L RGB water cooler. It's in a brown box, but it's the same one that you get in a fancier box. I just got it at a lower price. It's exactly the same. So this will be the cooler. I'm going to put it up at the top of the case. Additional fans that'll go into this that are RGB are going to be this set of Cooler Master fans. I've used a white version set of this in my previous build, the AMD build. This is black, so it'll go along with the theme of this PC. And I guess the only thing I'm missing at this point to take this further in terms of my description is, what am I going to put it all in? And that's going to be a particular case that I've gotten. This Be Quiet Pure Base 600 case. The main reason I'm switching cases is that one will not support the water cooler. I want to be able to put the water cooler in a place where it will function well. Plus, I, for now, still like to have a couple of 5 1/4 inch bays. I will, however, do a lot of modding to this. I will actually take the side panel. It has a lot of sound dampening foam in here, really thick foam. I'm going to cut into this and I'm going to transfer over my plexiglass window that I have engraved with my PE symbol onto this case. In addition to that mod, I'm also going to cut into the front of this. I'm going to make a rectangular cut big enough to allow more airflow through it. The vents on the side are okay, but some of the other reviews that I read about this, it doesn't get enough in. I like a system to be really cool, especially where I'm keeping it in the little cubby down on my desk. So I'm going to cut this out, but I'm going to put into it a magnetic filter so that I can easily take it out and keep it clean. So I got this black filter that will go in the front of it here, and it will allow a lot more airflow to get into this case. I may wind up having to cut into the nice Be Quiet emblem down here, but that's the way it goes sometimes. One of the features that this motherboard has that I'd like to take advantage of is to use a USB 3.1 Type 2. It has a connector on the motherboard itself that'll support that, and it actually has an adapter that can go onto the case, and then the other end goes to the motherboard, of course. So I'm going to have to make a hole somewhere in the front here of the front panel in order to allow access to this USB Type-C connector for a 3.1 Type 2 USB. I do like using that, and right now I have to reach in the back of my existing motherboard in order to get to it. So this is a change that'll add a little more convenience to my overall system. And then finally, I got myself a new keyboard. Now the one that I have right now, this Cooler Master keyboard, it simulates a mechanical keyboard. Well, I want a real one now. And I want some backlighting, RGB backlighting. So I got this keyboard. It's not a name brand, but it's got good reviews. It comes with a mouse as well. That's very similar to it. And it's a full keyboard that is mechanical with RGB backlighting that can be changed to different patterns and different colors. Now those are the new components that will be going into this build. A couple of them I've had a while, but they've never been used in an actual build or in a computer other than for testing purposes. So they'll all be new. But there are some used components, as I mentioned earlier, that are coming from this PC that are going over to this. Now, some of them I don't need to do the testing and the benchmarking that I want to do in the later episodes of this mini-series, things like the DVD drive and the front panel, extra I/O connectivity that I have to move over to it. But there are some that I'm going to need, and I want to be able to test the motherboard at the same time for all of its capability. That 1 terabyte Samsung 860 EVO is what I believe I have in there. I'm going to temporarily put in this 128 gig M2 drive just so I can test it out, load up some of the test software and stuff on it. But I also have this 480 gigabyte standard 2.5-inch SSD. So I'm going to put these two in there as the storage just for testing. And for memory, it's the same thing. The memory is actually coming over from that one, which is some G.Skill memory that I have in there. I have 32 gig of, I think, 3200 megahertz. Well, temporarily I'm putting in the OLO that originally I had in my new AMD build that I replaced with G.Skill RGB. Well, this memory, obviously I have it. I have 32 gig of it. I'm going to put that one in this build just temporarily, just so I can do the testing. And it is 3600, so it'll give me a pretty decent comparison in terms of that testing. Well, those are all the parts that are going to go into the new build. This is sort of like the parts roundup, as I've done in the past for other builds. And I'm going to put down in the bottom of this video links to any of these that I think would make sense for people to take a look at if they're interested in doing a similar build to this. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you got something out of this video that you found useful or helpful in some way. And if you did, if you can consider subscribing to my channel, that would be really helpful. And also give me a little thumbs up as well if you can. Well, until the next time, take care, be healthy, and please be safe.